Welcome to Coach's Corner. Today's episode is an origin story, which is filmed live in Coach's Corner right before it's destroyed. Today's Coach's Corner will star my guest, my compadre, George Lopez, the new coach of Tiburcio Vasquez Elementary, and me, Coach Ben. As always, please like, share, leave some feedback, or subscribe. I look forward to hearing from you. Hello, and welcome to Coach's Corner, and we're actually here in Coach's Corner, the first Coach's Corner, and I'm here with
George Lopez, starting a new position as an instructional coach, so I'm definitely looking for tips and ideas on things that worked and things that I should be on the lookout for.
So my Coach's Corner, which is over here, it's a little sad, I'm taking it down, we're here to take it down today, but it will now be George's Coach's Corner, so I'm excited to be able to kind of keep their traditional going. So here we go, George. This is your chance to ask any questions that you might have about Coach's Corner or coaching.
All right. So if you were to give me any piece of advice as to, how to coach people, or something that you think is really critical that you learned in your experience, what would that be? What, and including part of Coach's Corner, what is something that you think is something that's critical to have up here for the people that are being coached?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things is just the whole Coach's Corner is really about accessibility, right? And being accessible to people. And this is one of the way, and I think it's all tied in with relationship building, that if people kind of feel that you're accessible, they're going to be more likely to approach you. And so when you're kind of making yourself visible and accessible, then people, are going to be more comfortable. And I think the other thing is thinking about, what would you do in the classroom? And this is a little bit extending the question, but what would you do in the classroom? And it's like, well, in the classroom I would put up bulletin boards. Well, I'm going to try to do some of the same things that I would do in the classroom. I just kind of shift those a little bit because I need to model that. So this is kind of like my classroom bulletin board that I put up. And I think a few things that I learned along the way is it's not necessarily just about the things that I'm interested in. It's figuring out how are you going to bring other people. Like in the classroom bulletin board, we would put students' work up. So how are we going to kind of, again, building relationships and making people actually access it? Because just because it's up here doesn't mean people are going to look at it, right? And if you're going to put information up here, then how are you going to get people to come over here and look at it? Well, you make it more about them sometimes than about you, and that's why we have all our pictures of our awesome teachers up here, or the people that participate in the close reading cycle and the coaches adoption checklist, so they can kind of see what they've accomplished. So I think the whole thing about how can you help work with people is just making yourself accessible to them.
So that kind of gets me to kind of my second question. It's related to that. So when I look around, I think one theme that I really see is, I don't want to call it a checklist, but kind of like a progress report as to how many teachers are, certified in Tier 1, how many teachers completed the close reading cycle. So do you think that that's something that that kind of encourage participation and teachers to want to be part of that? Just them kind of, it's almost like a checklist or like a report card as to progress. How do you feel about that?
I mean, again, just like in your classroom, right? You're trying to you put the good work up because you want to model the work. Of course, sometimes you put all students' work up, but so here, I mean, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because sometimes when people, see that they're not up there, maybe they feel bad. But on the other hand, I'd like to look at it as like really the positive encouragement, and that's why even, when you look at the pictures up here that people are in, they have the little sticker masks on them, right? And that just makes it a little bit more fun. And just like here, I think sometimes people, it's just a reminder that, oh, I really want to participate in the close reading cycle. I can see that other people have. I think sometimes it also makes kind of other people kind of more comfortable saying, oh, well, these other teachers have participated. It gets a little fire under them as well, to see that what some of their colleagues are doing, and it's a reminder, because as a coach, it's not always about necessarily just being fluffy, right? I mean, we need to let people know, hey, there's some goals, and we want you to reach them. And I look at it as an encouragement and giving people encouragement to reach those goals. So those are kind of with those things. It also is a little bit of, like you said, a report card, a little bit of accountability. Because then, people know, hey, this is something, that I should do, or it's important, or maybe I need some help on this, and hey, my name's not up there, maybe it should be.
So earlier you kind of mentioned about, about that lines of that communication that you want to have, with teachers as a coach. And one of the things that kind of I also noticed was that here behind me, you have a list of kind of what teachers say, they need, what their needs are. Did you just take a look at the, maybe the complexity of what they were talking about, or did you take a look at the need? How did you decide which ones of those needs you wanted to focus on, and how did you differentiate that for the different levels of I guess the levels of I guess how comfortable teachers are
where their skills at?
For their skills, yeah, for the skills.
Well, I started at the beginning of the year. I think it's always about just like, again, looking about getting our classroom practice. What do we do in our classroom practices? We get to know our students. We see where our students are at. We see what our students' levels are. But I think more teachers in the beginning of the year, it's like doing a survey and saying, okay, what do you want to learn about this year? I remember the first survey I did, it had questions like, what you want me to learn about, what do you want to learn about, what are you interested, how would you like me to interact with you, do you want me to come in your classroom, is it okay if I come by any time? And I think some people kind of changed their mind since the beginning, because I think their answers kind of changed over time, but really seeing where people are, what they want to learn about. Okay, so that's, I think, the first tier. The second tier is looking at district goals. What is the things in the district, that are, because we want to get our arrows moving all in one direction, and, we don't want to swim upstream. And then the third point is, that you were talking about is the differentiation. And where you need to, with the differentiation, I think it's just offering, different classes. And so here's some things that I think is really important is, okay, so if you're going to do a training on a certain app or a certain skill, you offer it multiple times. And maybe the first time you're going to target it, you're going to kind of target it in the middle. And then you're going to see kind of where people are at. And then you might do a follow-up course. And one of the follow-up courses may be for the more basic people. And maybe the next follow-up course is going to be for, the more advanced people that want that support. I also think it's really important to do your best is to get people to work together in groups. Because there's only one of you, right? And if you're going around helping everybody with every single little thing, it's going to take a while. But, when you partner people up and try to put them, in grade level groups, something like that, because then they can really support each other as far as, because honestly, you learn a lot, just sitting down next to somebody else that's going to say, hey, this is what I did, this is how I did it, than just having somebody just kind of show you all of them in front. So it's a balance, but just figuring out where your teacher's needs are, and then trying to do your best to differentiate as far as those trainings go, I think.
All right, and one final question, hopefully you haven't already answered this, but if there was any pitfall that you would want to kind of warn a new coach, somebody that's coming into a position like me, what would you ask them to watch out for? What might be the biggest thing, roadblock or pitfall that you didn't see coming that I kind of maybe should keep an eye out for?
I don't know if it was necessarily a pitfall that I didn't see coming as far, but there was, I think, a few little things. And so what I mean is you have a lot of energy and you have a lot of things that you think are good practices, right? And so you want to share those with people. But a lot of times people aren't ready to necessarily have you share. They're not ready to be like, oh, I got this, cool new thing, I want to show it to you. Sometimes I think in the beginning you have to kind of do a lot of listening, and you have to do a lot of, let me see what your expertise are. I'd like to learn about you and what your expertise are, because again, maybe you're really passionate about, writing, and you have this great program, and you're talking to somebody about it, you're saying, oh, you should do this, this, and this, and then the person, you don't know that they're a writing expert or something like that, for example. So I just think it's really, go in there, and even though you have all these, expertise, you got to have that kind of humble and be like, well, what, you have these strengths, I would like to learn about these strengths. And then once you kind of get people to open up more. I think they're going to be more willing to hear what you have to say. So just making sure that when you're going in there, even though you're new and you're excited and you kind of want to be this, agent of change, you just have to make sure to take it slow, listen, and just really kind of focus on building strengths in the beginning. So that would be my final word of advice. So thank you very much. It's a little bit sad for me because right after this video, we're going to kind of take it down. Bye-bye Broncos Borders. But as I said, I'm very excited to keep the tradition alive. Go George.
And hopefully we can keep you updated, see how my journey kind of goes this year, because I definitely expect to do a lot of learning. All right. See you soon.